Yeah, family, friends and foes. Activate. Yeah, it's Quas Eastside. They Black. Kiko Band, Sticks a Million.
I said I'm African, I can everything. Many traps were sent, we talking everything.
Death traps,
I'm one with everything.
overcome.
That means I'm one for all.
One for the family.
For nothing. That's why
African people.
I said I'm African.
Transformation time.
Hey, salam ta, greetings Earth family. This is Eli Heru Stanley XI, and this is Dirt to Work, the next episode, number 8. Today we're going to be talking about leadership and the kinds of leadership that we need today. If you've been following previous shows, you know that we've been talking about the difference between the two worlds, the world that we live in, which is a world of as consumers, and then you have the corporate world of scarcity. And we're looking at a future right now where corporations have completely taken over the environment and have created an environment where people are really struggling. They're struggling to pay their bills, they're struggling to buy food, and in some cases, people are spending 25 to 50% of their income on food. And this is truly unsustainable. How do we make changes so that we can come back to a place where people are not only healthy, but are also well-fed and secure, having food security first, water security, and then collective security. So I have here today a couple of brilliant minds to discuss some of this. First of all, one of my mentors and one of the great civil rights icon, human rights icon, a man who's been a part of change in this city and really all over the country, Dr. Robert Harris.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And then also we have again my good friend and leader, brilliant mind, a business owner of Jay's Hauling and
Incorporated, UP Environmental Abatement Service Group.
UP
Two companies.
Two companies. Yeah, this man has also been a mover and shaker in terms of minority contracts and getting the city, putting the city on notice for some changes that need to be done, and the changes are still need to be done. Rolando J. Underwood, how are you, sir?
Thank you for having me again.
Yes. So, gentlemen, we want to talk about the need for change. I mean, we know that structurally, the city and even the country, there needs to be some changes, you know,
Yes.
because people like us, urban people, Aboriginal people, are adversely affected by the way the society is structured. We live with less income than most people. We don't have the same kinds of employment, and then the worst case scenario, as time we're moving where there's going to be a lot of social changes and economic changes in this country. The worst case scenario is that we're not prepared. You know, so the reason why, Dr. Harris, you have been a part of change, a significant part of change when it comes to civil rights, and the rights, human rights, the rights of the handicapped and everything. Before I ask you some questions, can you share a little bit about your background and some of the
Well,
things that you've done?
I'm now, by the grace of God, I'm 70 years old, almost 71. I'll be 71 in August. And the significance of that simply is that the medical doctors gave up on me when I was 8 months old. When I was 8 months old, they said I had meningitis, and they said I would be dead in 3 days. You know, so 70 years is a long way from 3 days, and that's all by the grace of God. And I am happy about that for a bunch of reasons, because number one, the doctors don't know all that they think they know.
That's right.
You know, and unfortunately, most of the people who are in so-called leadership don't know what they think they know.
Right.
The ones who want power, they don't know what they think they know either. So the best thing to do is to put your trust in God, use your brain,
Yes.
you know, to follow through with that imagination, and looking around for all those people who are around you who are indeed your leadership. And the sad thing is, and the good thing is, it's both, it's almost an oxymoron, is that it's the same person. In other words, our families, mama, daddy,
Okay. Yeah.
those are our leaders.
Yes. Yes.
And we need to learn to listen to them and to follow their leadership, and then to follow each other, because we have great leadership in the community. You know, and if we listen to some of those common sense things, we will not only survive, we will thrive. For instance, a good friend of mine, his father used the term, and I use it all the time. You dealing with economic stability, economic self-sufficiency, which you know, and which I know by everything you've said and done and everything I've seen you do over the years. You preach that, you own that, you look for that. Well, it's simple. Live beneath your means, get rid of debt, because the society pushes debt. Business pushes debt. They want you to be in debt. Get out of debt. Stay out of debt. Live beneath your means. In other words, if I don't need, you know, if I need a Cadillac, that's fine. If I need a Ford, that's okay too. Or whatever else I've got. It doesn't have to be new. In fact, I made one of the biggest mistakes of my life was for my late wife and I, when we first got married, we bought a brand new car. Well, guess what? The brand new car, I said that my brain kept telling me, well, I need to use it and drive it until the wheels fall off. The wheels fell off sooner than I thought they should fall off. You know, so I didn't really need that, is what I'm saying, because the next cars I bought were all used. And they didn't cost as much as the one I had, and they lasted longer. You know, but now I might have wanted and needed a new car. But the thing is, what could I afford financially? And yet, at the same time, I financially started driving because it was the only thing that economically made sense. I had to take taxi cabs wherever I went. I lived downtown in the West End, Richmond Village, you know exactly where I live, when I say Richmond Village. I'm a West Indies kid, you know, and I had a job opportunity at the zoo. In those days, it cost me $5 a trip, $10 each way. That was $10 a day to get back and forth. Yes. Okay, and I didn't have any choice because the buses didn't run. They didn't handle people with disabilities. They didn't handle people in wheelchairs. So, my late wife and I, we took a little money. That was $10 a day, added it up. That was $200 a month. A brand new Citation at that time cost $157. It was a no-brainer. Learn how to drive. And so I did. And then I got a promotion. What was more than a promotion. I got a better job offer working for Warner Cable. I was their art director for 4.5 years. Well, I could not have afforded to take a taxi cab from downtown to Blue Ash. That would have been like $40 one way. There was no way in the world I could afford that. But with the car, I was able to do that. My late wife, she was able to get a job over in Northern Kentucky. So she would drive me to work, drop me off, go over to Northern Kentucky and work. And so we ended up with 2 incomes.
Oh, okay.
And we banked one.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
bank an entire income.
Oh, yeah.
You bank an income, you've got power.
Yes, yes, you do.
Okay,
That's
you've
right.
got economic power, even if you weren't making a lot of money. But we use that principle, and we need to do that, and we need to constantly do that. And what I'm getting at is simply that we are the leadership. But that was old, what we used to call motherwit, common sense. Instead of going into debt and getting a credit card, bank an income, live off of the one, and even find ways to supplement that income. Like our friend over here, you said you are what we used to call in the community, you're Jamaican. We know you're Jamaican because every Jamaican's had at least 5 jobs. Maybe 10. And the reason I say that, I tease about it because my uncle's Jamaican. And he snuck into this country years and years ago.
Okay.
Started making money, snuck back out of the country, came back in legally. That's what he did. And he ended up,
He had a plan.
he had a plan. And he exercised it, because what he did is he ended up getting a job as a carpenter, joined the carpenters union. When he retired, he bought I don't know, what was it, $140,000, something $1,000 condo for cash.
Oh.
Cash. Okay? What he called, and I'm happy for him because by the grace of God again, what he called is being broke was having to cash in another $10,000 CD. And he lived, he knew what he was doing. And he didn't live in a great mansion, but he did live in a way that made it work for him. I don't know if I've gone over what you wanted from me when you asked me that question, but leadership is so important, but we just need to understand that leadership is all around us. You don't have to have a PhD. Dr. King said it, and I love what he said. In order to be great, you don't have to have a super high education. You don't have to have a bunch of degrees. You don't have to have any of those things. What you need to have is a commitment in your heart and your mind to do the right thing, to make good things happen, and to act on that. And that's what we need right now. Dr. King was a great example. He took from everyone. One of the people he took from was Mahatma Gandhi.
Yeah.
And he used what Mahatma Gandhi was talking about. And he went and put it into action. We've got leadership right now. And people keep talking about we want and need leaders like Dr. King.
Well, Dr. King, he was a great leader, and he started something that seems to be still going on today. And, I have a question about it, because, we know that what catapulted Dr. King to national
Prominence.
prominence was the march, the boycott, bus boycott, and the marching, and that was what, 50 years ago. Now we still have that formula happening today, and there is still a lot of marching. There's still a lot of that, but I'm wondering how effective that is today. Because is that leadership to just completely just keep on repeating something that?
That's not the only thing he did, though. See, we have to understand.
No, I'm not talking about Dr. King. I'm just talking about we're talking about leadership, and we're talking about leadership for today. What Dr. King did 50 years ago was effective, because it was new, but now it's not new. I think, especially with all the police killings, for example, all the different kinds of injustices that we see in the society, and the economic disparity, the technology gap, and we still have that approach being worked where people are protesting, you know, about.
Okay, let me, if I
Yeah,
can, let
go
me
ahead.
just jump in, because I'm not talking about, when I talk about leadership, and what I suggest is not looking at one methodology.
Right.
See, there's two things we're talking about. We're talking about methodology and we're
Right.
talking about leadership. And they're not the same thing. For today's issues, we may need other types of methodology.
Right.
Leadership is simply taking action.
Right.
And people who see you take action.
Right.
You know, you gave me a beautiful compliment at the beginning. You said I'm one of your mentors, and I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank God for that. But I don't just use one method,
Right.
because you have to learn how the situation changes. You might need to change.
Yeah.
I myself, I'm a lover of human beings, so I could never be a person that took up arms and said, I'm going to shoot you and kill a whole bunch of people in order to get freedom, because I've never seen it work.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen people take up arms to get freedom, they've ended up creating another enemy, because someone else says, now I have to take up arms to combat what I just got finished seeing.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in that.
Right.
But I don't believe, I'm not a pacifist. Neither was Dr. King, neither was, even Mahatma Gandhi wasn't a true pacifist.
Mm-hmm.
He was an activist. He didn't believe in sitting there and just letting fate take its course.
Right.
That's true pacifism,
Yeah.
is to do nothing. Being an activist is to pick up yourself and say, this is the problem. What things can I do
Yeah. Yeah.
to change it? And so I've done those things.
Yeah, you certainly have.
You know.
I mean, you have changed things structurally in the society. You made structural changes, and those are the kinds of changes we really need today. So how do we get?
Well, you know, it's so interesting, because I've been down here with a bunch of people all day today, or half the day, and it's some beautiful things. One of them is that each time I have the power to buy from people who are like myself, who support the values that I do, I do that. You know, I'm going to buy from people who support me,
Yeah.
and I'm going to support them. I'm going to buy from people who understand what my community is about, because I understand the fact that if I spend my money in my community, you know, I'm generating 4, maybe even 5 times that throughout.
Right.
You know, and that's great. You know, at the same time, I'm not going to separate myself from people who are not the same color, not the who don't have a disability. I mean, it gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I am going to support those people who support my values,
Yeah.
and I am going to support those people who need support.
Right.
You know, so if you already have $10 million, why should I make it $10 million and $1?
Right.
So I'll keep my dollar and spend it with someone who that $1
Right.
that I might give to them, or the $5 or the $25, will actually increase their income multiple times
Right.
more than if I gave it to someone who already is a millionaire or a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of leadership we need, people who will actually do the right thing. And it's so simple, is do the right thing, because Dr. King said it, I agree with him. We need love in our hearts and the commitment in our soul to make it work. And it can work whether you're male, whether you're female, whether you make $10,000 a year or $100,000 a year. It can work. The principle works. And do the right thing.
Yes.
And if it's to be, it's up to me. And if I can, I can. And if I can, and I do, then I'm going to advance all of us forward. But if I'm just, and I quote from everyone because I steal from everyone, and it's all good stuff. The artist, and I'm an artist, Picasso said that all good artists borrow, and the great artists steal. Okay?
Wow.
You take it because it's there.
Okay.
And it's the way I've lived. Anything I've got, I give away. And you know why I give it away? Because it's going to come back to me.
Yeah.
If I give it to you and you take it and you run with it, if you discover a better way, then I'm watching you, and then I you become my mentor, I become your mentee. So we exchange.
Yes.
We help each other.
Yes.
You know, it's not about me being the leader and you being the follower. It's about us all being the leader.
Yeah.
And understanding that we all have the responsibility and the obligation for each one of us to teach another one of us.
Yes, yes.
Each one teach one. That's a universal principle if we wanted to move forward. And to understand that we are not all born with teeth. We must all grow.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
And to understand that we make a difference. And if you don't believe that one person makes a difference, there's another old African proverb that I love. For any of you out there, for any of us, if you don't believe that one person makes a difference, you don't believe that, you want to understand the power of it, just remember what it's like to spend the night alone in a room with a mosquito. You know what I'm saying? And you're wondering, I can't sleep because I'm wondering whether this thing is going to suck my blood or not. And we have to learn how to do that. And we learn how to share. And we have to take our kids and understand that we are the primary educator of our children.
That's right. That's right.
Not the system out here,
That's right. That's right.
which only wants to destroy us. It makes us into beings that are slaves. We become cogs in machinery, in the machinery.
I'd like to piggyback on that.
Go ahead.
I do agree with multiple leadership. I seen a different side of Dr. King when I was with him. And he had an aggressive side as well. One of the things that he would deploy dealing with the adversary was tactics that say, if you don't do it this way, then we will do it this way. And when you're dealing with a non-representation system that's in place towards Black Americans for the last 152 years, we had to come up with something better than just winning a battle. We needed to set up our own party. And I saw the slave mentality of control by whites through the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And as Shirley Chisholm said back in the day, she said we need to set up our own independent national party, because without that, we will be subject as slave mentality control for the rest of our lives, our children's life, and their children's life. And until we step up and take on the responsibility of becoming leaders, no matter what walk of life you come from, you need to step up and become that leader. And I believe once we set up our own independent national party, it's the beginning, and I really mean the beginning of me and you being indigenous, born here in America. An aboriginist, meaning that you're the original people. You must take responsibility and step up to that plate so that you can do the many things that you were born to do in your greatness. And until then, we just gonna be subjugated to a system that does not want us. And that's something that I see, because I walked with a lot of these leaders as a child, as a small adult. I call small because, you know, when you're learning. And then when I became an adult and seeing all those leaders gone, I began to realize I have to take that next step, because leadership comes from within, each and every last one of us. And I mean, no matter what, from the streets to the educated. And to do great things like this man has done, to set the precedent, not only for the fights back in the day, but through the courts, so that they can have the basic rights that should have been given to them. So the thing I'm saying, leadership has to come, like he said, for we have to teach our children, our women, our men, so that they can take that responsibility and lead on. Because without that, then who we following and what we following for? Because anybody can follow somebody in the quicksand, just like in the military. One guy said he had a speck in his eye, and his whole battalion went into the quicksand. So, are we going to follow this Democratic Party, this Republican Party that never gave us no representation anyway? This representation is serious, and if you don't take it serious, then there will be a lot of casualties of war. And trust me on this one, a lot of y'all are casualties. So if you're not going to stand up and be that leader within and take it forward, then it's not going to happen. And that's one of the things I'm pushing, the independent national party of indigenous, aborigines, people of America, because we can't depend on them for nothing. We have to go and establish it ourselves, build our own economic base, secure our communities. And if the whites ain't gonna do it, then we don't want them in our community. We need to set the precedent. And trust me, just like in the 60s, they always came to the edge of the community to get who they want. And we went in the community and got them. So we need to start setting this up ASAP. And if you don't know what ASAP means, as soon as possible. I'll do the footwork. In the next 30 days, I'll start a charter. And then from there, I'll go to individual states and set up chapters. That way they can set up delegates. And then me being a lobbyist, guess what? I'll have everybody from the federal, state, city, and we'll demand the things that we are faced with, that we need: economics, security, safety. And I can go on and on and on. But this is what I look at, and this is how I look at leadership.
Jay, what you're saying is so powerful, because it is true. The Democrats, neither the Republicans, we're not represented. We aren't represented. I mean,
No,
we and there are many examples of people, you know, who of other ethnic groups who have formed parties. Even the Tea Party is within that. You know, you have that. So I think you're right. That needs to be done.
And you say the Tea Party, representation of themselves.
Right.
So, you know, we need representation of ourselves.
Yeah, to deal with our issues. We can't really go too much further with this conversation, but we want to really investigate it a lot more. But you know, we only got a few seconds. So
Can I take I don't want to stop you, but I'm just going along with what you're saying. As we talk about other parties and developing parties that are alternative parties that represent us, we need to also take advantage of what we already have here. That is our right to vote. Yeah. Our right to vote is so important.
I believe that because my cousin Percy Jackson out of Marion, Alabama, was the first person that died.
All right.
For votes.
Okay. We're gonna have to stop this conversation. Before we go, you want to quickly give some information where you can be reached, and Jay, after.
Well, I am not hiding from anyone. I am on the internet, robertleeharris.com. I am on the internet, harris.robertlee@gmail.com. My phone number is 513-307-4297. I'm at the library almost every other day because knowledge is power, and I want to get as much of it as I can.
All right, thank you. Jay?
You can reach me at rjwood1958@yahoo.com. And those who are close to me, they can reach me at my home. I don't give that address. So if you bring it, you better bring it.
All right. Well, this has been a great meet. I thank you both for sharing this knowledge with the community, and we're going to have to do this again very soon. thanks again. We will see you next time. But just remember, if as long as there's dirt to work, you don't have to panic. You can grow your own food, and you don't have to be hungry. Peace.